Hey y'all, it's Anna V, and you, my friend, are listening to the All-American Wing Shooting Podcast. I am a hunter, conservationist, mom of 2 girls I have raised in the outdoors, and a proud owner of a truck full of dogs. My passion is guiding you to confidence, sharing in tradition, and celebrating the true meaning of success in the field. Here we go. Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of All-American Wing Shooting Podcast. We are on episode number 3 with Mr. Kevin up at Griffin Howe. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so you said it's 100 degrees up there today?
It's 100 degrees in Jersey. It's like we swapped places with Georgia.
And it's muggy out there today.
Yeah.
Like I said, it was 91 here, but it's muggy.
Let's just say Moses is residing in the instructor room, enjoying very nice air-conditioned kennel.
Not just swimming laps in the pond.
We'll do a bit of that later on when he's off duty, but right now he's living the easy life.
Okay, I couldn't wait to get on this podcast with you this afternoon because this morning I had a podcast with a guy that I had never personally met. It was a suggested friend on Facebook. And I have to say, it's become kind of like a treasure hunt for me to see who I'm going to meet next, because when I lost all my platforms and I had to rebuild them, you forget like who all you used to stay in contact with, because I built it over years and then it was gone. And this is like 2 years now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been kind of fun to be like, who's my new friend? Because I had built, my friend list traveling across the country, and I haven't done that in the last year. So there is this sweet guy from Middle Illinois by the name of Pat Gregory, and he is a decoy maker, decoy carver, and his history is insane. I am so excited about this episode because it really does go hand in hand with what we talked about on our last episode.
Yep.
And his great-grandfather started carving decoys in 1890.
How cool is that, right?
It was so awesome. And I was like, man, I don't know if the members at Griffin Howe could really appreciate this or would geek out about this, but I know if Kevin and I hosted an event, brought in Pat, it would be so fun.
So Pat's one of those old time tribal guys that got the hand-me-down stuff. And it's kind of funny when you look at those decoys, if you got Eastern Shore decoys, they build them a certain way. And if you're in Barnegat Bay, they're a certain style, because that's how they thought the appropriate way they should look. And if you go up to that Central Flightway where he's probably hunting, they have a little bit different style, the way they weighted them and, quote, the materials available to them. And it's just great stuff, great stuff.
Yeah, he did talk about the regions and the characteristics of the regions. We didn't get to dive into that as much, which is what I thought we would talk about. But because I didn't know him, I had no idea that he had such a rich history and such a passion for education of the waterfowl industry, not just decoys, but also recruiting new waterfowlers, especially women. He said that with Delta Waterfowl, they team up 12 decoy carvers, come together every year. They do a hunt together with the decoys, and then Delta auctions off the decoys.
Wow, that sounds like a winner.
Yeah, this is the first year that they're going to have female carvers join that group.
Nice.
Yeah, and it was so awesome.
Hey, there's a lot of room in a duck blind, isn't there? There's room for everybody. There's room for everybody.
I'm going to get him. I'm going to get him up to Griffin Howe while we're there because it's amazing. So, okay, not only did his great-grandpa, start carving decoys that early, but he was also like a semi-pro baseball player. He was literally like the all-American icon dude.
Right.
Back in the day. Yeah.
Mr. Sports. That's cool. Mm-hmm. I'm in.
Yeah, it was so cool. It was super cool. So I did talk to him about you. We did talk about the tribal knowledge and how you can't learn things in a book. Like, you're not going to learn the tricks of the trade.
No.
of decoy making out of a book. You can't.
No, you
And
got to
there's no
sit
way to do
down.
it.
You got to be with one of these guys. You got to watch him how he works the material he starts with. You know, a lot of guys they have a horse that they lock the block in, and they use a lot of, depending on the materials, like cedar, they'll use a draw knife, and they'll sit on that horse, and you just watch them go, and it's like, man, it would take me 3 days to get what he can do in 40 minutes. Rough that thing
Yeah.
out, bing, bing, bang, cut the head, sit there on the front porch and whittle heads, and just like, those guys have the shape in their head, and their hands just make it happen. Pretty cool stuff
Well,
to
it's no
watch.
different than you with your gun fitting. And the thing about it is like you put all this together and then you have to trust somebody else to interpret what you put on paper. Someone else that you may not even know is going to produce this product of somebody that you created.
Correct, because it's kind of like a prescription. Okay, I'll do a gun fit, and let's say we're building a higher end gun, and we're using a few more measurements than just your basic length of pull, drop it comb, drop it heel, you know, a little bit of cast. We're talking about the grip radius and the circumference of the grip, because maybe there's some special needs with a maybe smaller petite hand, and distance from the center of the hand into the trigger. So we need to be very specific when we start building that stuff and start writing out that quote prescription. So the stock builder, when he looks at my numbers, he visualizes, I know what this guy means. I can see this client. I have a picture of this client in my head. I can go to work now. That's that's pretty much what that section of it. But I do keep a close relationship with most of the people I do stock work with, so they understand. I might put a few footnotes in so they understand. I want this a little proud. I want it a little proud on this side in case we have to make an adjustment if we're building the gun in the white. So a little bit of communication going on in between. On a generic.
Okay, so you're going to get a kick out of this part too.
Go ahead.
And and you have such great one-liners you're going to have to add to it. So we were talking about just our dogs, and he doesn't have a dog anymore, but he says, like, I bring the decoys, and I've got to hunt with so many amazing dogs over the years, like either guests of his or invited hunts or just his buddies at his duck club. And um, he's like, your dog deserves better than just plastic decoys. And I cracked up because
Isn't that a statement?
it was so
Isn't that a
funny.
statement? So
And
how do you,
right.
Anna, how do you interpret that? How do you interpret that?
Okay, well, for me, I thought that I was a snob, like picking a specific gun, and then I always say, like, there's no excuse to hunt with an ugly dog. Like, there's so many breeders that take pride, and that's been my soapbox because of how grateful I am to have been mentored by breeders. But then I got into this decoy world, and it's the
Right.
same exact thing, the same exact investment and craftsmanship. And I never thought about it because I'd been thrown into a world where everybody hunted with plastic decoys. And I
Right.
get
That's
it.
all they had.
Not
So
everybody can do,
let
I
me
don't know
tell
what the
you,
investment is. I
let me
didn't
tell
ask
you
him, but I know
my take on that
they
statement is, so here's the decoy carver saying, and he's giving you a statement about the dog. I'm going to say, I'm looking at a world championship dog, and you're going to waste that talent on that stuff? Really? Like, let's get the good stuff out. Let's get the
yeah.
handmade stuff out. That's where I'm looking at, and
Right. It's like, and he preached about the experience. Like, man, he's like, sometimes I throw in my old, traditional solids, and that kind of thing. And he's like, it's not about the hunt. It's not about shooting. Of course, a dog's not going to care what kind of decoys he's swimming
No,
through.
but we
But
do.
it's
It's just
about more than just shooting birds. He was creating an experience. And I was like,
it,
man, I got to up my game now. This is so amazing because there's still so much more to learn and to experience and create. And I don't know. It was just so exciting.
what is, I think a big part of what he's trying to tell you is like, when you get to hunt over my decoy spread, and you sit out I hunt out of a boat because I hunt out of tidal, and I'll put the teal out in front of you, and I can say, see those teal over there? Those are the teal that were built by Johnny Soares. He made those in his garage one summer. They're handmade, hand painted, and I've had people actually run up on them thinking they were live birds. And those birds over there, those gadwalls, my friend Teddy built for me, that are all hand painted, and they came from a different place, and they have a different story. And we could sit there and chit chat about this decoy and that, and where this came and where that came from. And it's like there's so much history behind all this stuff. Because again, I'm a little spoiled. I don't really hunt over plastic decoys, but I've been in the game a little while, so
Of
I
course
don't
you
hunt
don't.
over plastic decoys, unless look in the goose blind. Yes, absolutely. The Canadians, if we're shooting honkers, or back when we used to shoot a lot of snow geese, you better believe we're going to shoot plastic decoys. But they were about as real looking as possible. So no, I get what he's saying. I'm all in. Throw my hat in that ring. I love that.
I thought you would eat it up. I was like, oh my gosh, these two guys I have to meet. I have to put y'all together because it was everything we talk about in a world that, even though I've had so much exposure to, was like, I don't know, learning something completely new this morning. And it just got
Right.
me all geeked up. I was so
Half
excited.
the passion. Half the passion. Remember, I told you that years ago, the guys in the club would call my house on Wednesday, and they would get, "Hi, you've reached the hunting hotline. Kevin's not here right now, but he'll be back later, and you guys can figure out where you're going to gun this weekend." And it was like the hunt started 3 days before we even went there. Where are we going to go? What we're going to
Yeah.
take? Which dogs we're going to use? What shells we're shooting? Where we're going to set up? What decoys? What time we're going to meet? And it's like we'd be silly about it for 3 days before we even got there, And this is what creates those burnt-in memories of like. People ask me, "How do you remember that stuff?" Because you don't understand. I was there. It's in my head. Like,
Yeah.
we put so much effort into it, we got so much back out of it because we created a plan, we executed it, and look what the reward was. It was just over the top. So that's why I'm, everything matters. Everything matters like that because you get the feedback is fantastic, absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it was fantastic. So I think we should look at doing something about that or with him. That'll be just super fun.
Absolutely,
Well,
absolutely.
what is new going on up there at the club? What events are coming up?
So this is, we're getting kind of done with charity event season part one. Now that it warms up a little bit, we have a few corporates going on, but the charity season is kind of coming down. It goes halfway, and then late August, early September, just before the kids go back to school, the weather starts to break a little bit, and we'll go back into round two, and we'll probably do another 15, 18 charity events, and then right about that time, Kevin is starting to get the calls. Oh, I'm going to England. I'm going here. I got to start training. I got to start using the flurry field. The mindset starts to change. I start seeing different guns coming out, and I start, we're just, clay season starting to wrap up, and we're starting to talk about, okay, what time are you going on this trip and that trip? It's like the whole culture starts picking up because of that time of the year.
Hmm.
I mean, it's really, in my words, it
It's
is.
just not going to go away from me. Yeah,
Nah, it's just like
I'm just not going to let it go away.
got a couple little trips before. I have a little run to Texas, but the first hunting trip is really doves in Tennessee, right? Doves in Tennessee, early September. After that, it's all
Yeah.
look out, nonstop. How about for you?
Well, I mean, I get to come up there in 3 weeks, which I'm so excited. I get a full week there.
Can you handle that? Look
Yes.
forward to
I told
that.
Steve, I was like, I told him, I said, just go on. Because it was so packed the last time I was there. I was like, just pick me a spot up on the hill and put me a she shack.
Yep, yep. That's probably where you're going to be up there. So I think what we'll do is when you do come up, we'll sit down and we'll do a few of these things. But I think it'd be good for me to take you out and show you where I train all these people for these different venues where we start to train for that driven shoot in Scotland and in England and red leggers and all that, because I have a couple of different places where we do that. So it's sooner than later. If you think about it, it's sooner than later.
Okay, so this is a surprise. You're gonna flip out. Okay, did you hear about me shooting my groundhog? Did we talk about that?
Yeah, yeah, with the 22.
Okay, we talked about that.
Yeah, we talked about that. There'll be no more
It was a
tomato
223.
thieves.
Anyway, so it was the whole joke that I got kicked out of rifle lessons, and then I come home and I'm like, I got this. And so it was so funny because Steve's like, pack up the pink rifle and bring it and tell Tristan you're ready for a lesson. And I'm like, oh my God, he really will ban me. And so I'm pretty sure that we have a trip now to Spain in December for Ibex,
Okay.
which I don't remember I think the last time that I shot a horned animal, I was 8.5 months pregnant. That
Right.
was a long time ago.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, I was like,
Sounds like a rifle lesson
yeah,
in your
so it's
near
gonna be a while.
future. Looks like you and Tristan are going to
Hey,
get together
I got
very
this.
soon.
I got this, but it's gonna be so funny when I come back and I'm like, dude, I already got a trip planned.
He's
I
going to
look forward to
appreciate
that.
that.
But
He's
while
going to
we're
like that.
there, I would, yeah, he's gonna love it. I would love to talk about some places that maybe we could shoot some birds or something while we're over there too. Because I think this is just like a 3-day hunt, so it's not going to be that bad. I'm not going to fly that far for
Listen, there's a lot.
just that.
There's a lot of wing shooting in Spain. A lot of wing shooting. They do a lot of
And I want to
partridge.
stay longer so I can eat there. Gosh, I want to go there just for the meals.
And it would not be complete unless we call up and get you a little factory tour of some of the side by side companies. They're all in the
Oh
same.
my God!
They're all in the same
Yes,
town. You could go
in
like
Spain.
in Spain, go to AYA on this side of the street, and then go
That's
to
right.
the previous Arietta, it's under over there, and get a little factory tour. I mean, there's only 10, 12 guys in the factory putting these things together, and
All
it
right,
is you got to go see it.
that is a plan.
It's really something, and you just call ahead. They love when we come over there, and they get to show off their skills because they really do build some nice guns, really nice guns.
Okay, so let me tell you my biggest heartbreak. And maybe it just got moved. I don't know. But there was a 20 gauge Griffin Howe side by side, which was made by AY, right?
Um, the later
Wasn't that
ones
the
are
first one?
probably Arietta. It's probably an Arietta. Arietta was
Okay.
building
Well,
our
it was
higher end side by
fantastic out
sides.
there,
Was a little side
and now
lock
it's
gun.
gone. Mm-hmm.
We'll find you another. There's a few around.
I
What are
was
you
like,
looking for?
man,
Little
I would
20,
have loved to have had that.
a little 20, 28-inch barrels. Is that what you're looking for?
I think it was 28.
Yeah,
Yep.
28-inch barrel side lock. Don't worry about it. We'll find you one of those.
That way I could do birds or I could shoot. I want to start shooting all the side by side tournaments because I think
Hmm.
that'll be so fun. And I can do sub gauge if I'm stuck with tater bugs somewhere doing NSCA.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. No, we'll hook you
I
up.
think it'll be a
We'll hook you
good
up.
fit.
Those are. I'm going to tell you, they built some beautiful guns for us. I've got some clients that purchased pairs of those 20 years ago, and they're shooting them hard every year, and they just keep going. They just don't break. I mean, once in a while, a firing pin every 20, 30,000 rounds, maybe, if that. Those are soft parts. That's like putting brakes on your car. But as far as the rest of it, you get a great value for your money. Great value. I happen to own one. I love it.
Will be so exciting.
I've had one since 1999. I ordered a gun from AYA. Hard to beat. Beautiful guns.
Amazing. Okay. So I'm sure that everybody is probably waiting on Kevin to shower us with some insight. So how about we talk about, I don't really like focusing on the negative in shooting, and you pretty much coach the same way. We always focus on the positive and the solution. So what are some great solutions, maybe like top 2 to 3 solutions that you see in your first lesson with people? Besides, we've already talked about gun fit, we've talked about vision, so we understand, that, which we can always go into greater detail, but like just things out of the gate when people are like, I wonder what's going on, because they're lost.
Okay, so a couple little tidbits. We first start going out. On a first time lesson, let's say we have a client, a student that shoots a little bit, and maybe he's a 50%, 60% shooter, and they're looking to get better. Okay, so we're going to look at that as, I'm going to sit back and just let them shoot a little bit. I need to see some teaching moments. Does the student have any fundamentals? Do they understand what the fundamentals are? Break point, foot position, muzzle hold, visual pickup point. Do they understand the principles of eyes, movement, trust your eyes? And typically what happens is I will look at a student and the picture will start coming together, and the lack of some basic fundamentals of understanding the character of the target, what is the target actually doing, B, a proper mental pre-shot routine to complete my mission with the target, right? And some basic fundamentals, body movements. Do they even understand? And the biggest thing I find is, do they really understand even how to look at the target? Are they really in control of the target, or is it a quick glance and there's more gun in their eye than target? Are they managing the gap, or are they managing the bird? Most of these people are just managing the gap, which is just, I was 2 feet, I was 3 feet, I was 4 feet in front of that bird. So what are you telling me you're 4 feet in front of? You're using the end of the gun and you're measuring. So we call it measuring the gap. So I need some of that data. I watch what they do. And basically what I'm looking for is a brand new shooter that has never shot before. We're creating a behavior because their toolbox is empty, right? They have nothing in their toolbox. A person that's been shooting a bit, we're probably looking at changing their behavior. And the second is probably a little more work than the first. But I would say the first thing on top of the list is lack of any kind of fundamentals of understanding what the target's doing, foot position, actually proper gun handling. I'm going to tell you, Anna, this ain't rocket science. This is a simple game made difficult by people overthinking it or listening to some really bad advice.
That makes my day to hear that. That is the thing. Like, my biggest thing is when people don't understand their foot placement allows the movement to follow the bird.
No stress.
And I don't know, I don't understand why people just want to walk up to the box and then stand like they're shooting an air rifle in the Olympics, and then they can't move anywhere, and they don't realize that they're their own brake system.
Right. The body has, so think about it. The tendons in your body are kind of like ropes and chains. And, when the feet are really far apart, you see these people with this cowboy, they get a little intimidated with a bird with a little bit of juice on behind it. So they immediately start with this big wide open stance thinking they're going to power up with this. And they immediately just put themselves in a situation with the body, the arc of fire, as we call it, they've limited their body's ability to move with the target. So you get just about out in the break point, and the body's like, and it stops. So, and this is all basic fundamental stuff. This is fundamental stuff, and
yes,
and a lot of it comes from
I think
a
that's
lot
my
of us.
favorite one.
A lot of us, a lot of folks out in certain places, they've never had the opportunity to really be with a shooting coach that can actually just deliver some of these quick messages. And it's like you turn the light on and they're like, oh my God, I had no idea, right? I said, well, this is just little things. It's just little things that can make all the difference. And are you really looking at the target when you pull the trigger? And that's my first question. Mm-hmm. Were you really looking at the bird when the gun went off? And chances are they probably weren't. They were managing the lead, right? Or, managing the gap, or however you want to explain it. And it's just, the gun shoots where you look. And if you're not in visual control of the target, the hands don't know what to do with the gun. So it's like I said, it ain't rocket science.
And I also think on that women get so nervous when they go shoot and you say, where were you looking? They don't even remember. Like, they don't even remember moving with the bird, or they can't tell you where they saw the bird or whatever. And so it just takes like pulling the trigger enough to get comfortable enough to where you can get into that hard focus. I don't know about the men. Men may look at it a little differently, but I do see that with a lot of female shooters.
Well, I will tell you, Anna, that I do teach a lot of ladies to shoot, and they're a pleasure to work with. And I will tell you that they just say, Kevin, tell me how to do it, and I'll do it. And I don't try to tiptoe around the ladies. I just tell them exactly how I see it. And they just kind of execute it. They keep it. The girls keep it much more simple, for me anyway. They keep it simple. They don't bring the attitudes in. Yeah, they don't bring the attitudes in like, oh my God, I'm supposed to know how to shoot. Girls come in and say, man, they just put them in the break point, set their feet up, go out like that. I do set them up for success. I start on appropriate targets for their skill set, right? Appropriate targets for their skill set. So it builds that trust, eyes first, moving with the bird, and actually seeing the break so the brain can record that moment. Because when it's visual, it's repeatable. I mean, I'll take every bump, I'll take every Hail Mary shot I can get in a tournament. If you chip 2 and you win by 1, hey, I'll take it. But the intent is to give the eyes a directive, a job to manage the bird. And once you've got them managing the bird, it's easy for the hands to follow the eyes. But if they're confused, or if they don't quite understand, and I say this when I do all my certification courses, if the client or student is confused, who do you think is the cause of that confusion? You. You as a coach you're either teaching over your head, or you've overwhelmed them with too much talk. You're the one responsible. You're the reason why they're confused. You're getting ahead of yourself. And that happens a lot. And I will say, not to run with this too far, but I will tell you the special thing with the ladies, boy, do they get a lot of advice, don't they? There's one gal on the line and there's 5 guys trying to help her shoot. And there ain't one of them that knows what she's doing. But I always sit back and look at it and say, watch this. This is great. This is your classic. Let's get her about as nervous as possible, right? What's your experience with it?
Yeah, I don't know. I never get any help. I have to ask for it.
Well, when we get up, I think you're coming to see me in what, 2 weeks? Middle of July, you're coming?
I'll be there. I'll be there on the 15th.
15. Okay, halfway through the month. Cool.
Yep,
When you
like
get up
Tuesday
here,
to Tuesday.
I'll tell you what, we'll go through some drills on how I put all that together, and we'll like quiz a couple of them, and we'll get a couple of gals out there, and I'll go through how I explain what we're going to do, and we'll see how effective it is. And then we'll sit down, we'll talk about it on one of these, and we'll say
I'm so excited.
that worked pretty good because we just kept it simple. Kept it simple so they could trust what they're doing. That's the
Right.
key thing. Most
Yeah.
people, the trust, right? We said eyes, movement, trust. If you don't trust it, you're going to verify. What's the first thing when they verify? Look at the end of the gun. Manage the gap, right? We don't want that. We want visual management on the bird. So we'll get into that good. We'll have fun with that.
And it bleeds right into wing shooting, which is my favorite thing, right? Because,
Yeah.
like, how do these overlap? And we know that the people that listen to us, some shoot clays, some shoot both, and some just shoot birds. But
Yeah, you got recreational clay shooters.
which
You
overlap?
got competitive shooters, right? Different mindset. Then you got us, wing shooters that we're either in a boat, we're on a blind, we're walking the land, whether we're on the highlands chasing the little brown bird or we're out in the American plains shooting those beautiful roosters and sharp tails. I'm all in. It's all basically fundamentally the same. Hands following the eyes
Talking
first.
about those fundamentals, when we're talking about that, and you just listed like the top 5 fundamentals, right? Of where you can cause mistake, and that's your solution to go back to the fundamentals. Well, those have variables when we get into wing shooting because, sometimes you sit to stand popping out of a
Yep,
blind. Sometimes
absolutely.
you're in a layout. What if you're on a boat and there's movement? And so that's something else that we should address this summer is like drills to help people be more successful, more confident in the situations that they're going to find themselves in.
Right? Shooting out of
And
a
it
coffin
boils
blind.
right down to just where do you lay your gun? Like, how do you get your gun to your shoulder the smoothest from all these
Right.
different scenarios? Where do you
Very
where do you lay your ammo out and
right.
get reloaded?
Right. Those are all things where we, being somewhat experienced at this thing, this is what I do. And I always explain to you the why. Why do I do this? Because A, when the action starts, we know when birds start to fly, it might be a 15, 20-minute time frame. I don't want to be looking for anything. I want to be prepared. I want to be able to handle my ammunition, handle a dog, get up on the bow, have the Moses go off the bow, bring it back in, get right back in, guns up. I stove bolt the gun, redo the gun, get back, because 2 more birds could be coming in the decoys. That whole day could be 15 minutes long and not see another bird for 4 to 6 hours until that evening shoot. So those habits, because that's habits, that's a behavior, and we've come up with that behavior to be very efficient to keep it simple. Right? Got my shells here, and my gun up this way. We do shoot out of a layout boat. We do shoot out of a coffin blind, and you do need an efficient movement so the gun one smooth move to the bird. Right? Isn't that what we always say? One smooth move to the bird. So if the gun's facing the wrong direction, if the gun's facing this way, that's not a smooth move. But when it comes up from across and up, that might work for you. And we also, I also have the absolute pleasure of teaching some handicapped people, and they're kind of fun too because they're wide open for the knowledge. I have a couple of amputees that shoot with me, and boy, they just don't let it get in the way. We just don't let it get in the way, right? Efficiency and movement is everything. So,
Are you there?
yeah, I'm here. Yep, I have a little post-it in front of me here. Let me hit this button here.
Am I cutting out? When I talk, do I cut out to you? Now he's froze.
We're good now, right?
Oh.
We back?
Yeah, that's so crazy. I have 2 screens of you now.
Yep. Well, twice as much. Double your pleasure, double your fun. Remember the Wrigley's
I did
commercial?
not know what had happened.
Right? Double your pleasure, double your fun. So anyway, yeah, those are all great topics we can work with. But I'm going to tell you something. Even when I am teaching and working with a pretty high-end shooter, most of the corrections are not far off just basic fundamental. Not stretching their focus with the target through the shot. We say intense visual focus through the shot, not up to the moment where you think it's time to pull the trigger. Maybe a foot position set up, they ran out of swing. They know how to kill a bird, but they're not, they're just getting a little sloppy with it. But most of the corrections are not far from basic fundamental things, not really high tech. You're looking for that awesome technique to kill this, big target. So that's my spot on that.
Well, nothing beats the fundamentals.
No, I'm. It's the first thing I look for. I'm not looking for. I just want to see some consistency. When I see a shooter shooting fairly consistent, I know he's got a good pre-shot routine. He's a thinking man or a thinking woman. He's just not out there chasing targets. He's look, clay target shooting, and here's the difference between what we do, what you and I love to do versus clay target shooting. I love to shoot clays, but clays is a pre-designated flight path. It's an event that's pre-rehearsed about to take place. Bird leaves here, it's going to go there. This one leaves here, and it's going to go there. As wing shooters, there is no determined flight path. It's move on motion, eyes first, move to the bird, and do what needs to be done in the appropriate time, in the appropriate range, right? Don't try to shoot further than you're capable of shooting, and don't shoot the bird too quick. We know that a lot of people, sometimes it happens a lot in preserves. People get started and then maybe they take that shot a little bit too soon, and there's no reason to pick that up, right? Even though we need to pick that up. So all stuff to explore, some people are flash shooters. The only way they can harvest the bird or break the clay is an extremely high rate of hand speed. And if it gets out any kind of distance, it's maybe because it's the only thing they know. So
yeah.
I personally like, on a clay course, I like to teach people 3 different approaches on every target, 3 different ways to break that clay. We're not going to play that. We're probably not going to play that game when we're shooting live game. When we're a lot of times wing shooting, mostly the bird doesn't give you that opportunity. When we're in Maine shooting grouse, sometimes we're even shooting at a shadow, right? Because if you don't pull the trigger, don't expect the bird to fall down. So, and sometimes you'd be surprised all of a sudden you didn't think you did, but here comes the dog back with a grouse in his mouth. So. Trust. That's where the trust comes in.
That is so valuable too. What you just said as a shooting instructor, that you will teach your students to shoot birds 3 different ways. Like, that's such added value.
If it's a simul pair, right? Or even game, especially waterfowl. Waterfowl, sometimes you're doing things you're not really paying attention. The perception, background is very perceiving, right? How many times do you see people go out and, let's say they have a cripple in the water and they go to dispense of a cripple and they shoot 2 feet over the top? You know why? They don't know why, but they're missing over the top of a bird and they're standing still, right? Their perception is, right? And you don't shoot at the bird, shoot under the bird because the perception and the angle. But you got to be, you want to be diverse and I call it, you need depth in your game. You can't go out and fix the whole machine with one wrench. You need and a lot of that takes time, and for a lot of folks, it's got a lot to do with how much you're willing to get into it. I've been a student of this. I've been a student of this game for a long time, and I'm always constantly looking at different ways to teach and different ways to approach a different thing. And understanding there's more than one way to execute a shot, and this one, yes, this is your go-to method, but this will also reap you the same benefits with better success ratio. Or if we're on a clays course, you need to dispense of the first bird much quicker than you are, because you need more air time with the second bird. You can't be in your comfort. You can't be in your comfort zone all the time, and that's where the trust comes in. A different technique, one of the 3 different techniques that you want to learn. Use one technique on the second bird. Now you got enough air time to kill the second, and now you feel like, you know what, that was the right choice. So that's with people that put a little more time into their game. They spend a little more time on their journey. That doesn't come right away. That's not for the guy that's just been shooting a month or two. That's you got to pay your dues. You got to pay your dues before you can even start talking to a student at that level, unless they're coming. And I'll tell you, the key thing here is when I get a new student and they tell me, I always ask them, what are your goals? And you got to be realistic about your goals. And I will say, what are your goals? Some of my people say, hey, Kevin, I just, I shoot a lot of these charity events. I just don't want to be the low score guy, I said, well, I'll have you there in no time. Right? That's a good goal. That's a realistic goal. And then I'll have another guy say, well, Kevin, I want to shoot at your level. And I said, I'm very humbled that you want to do that. But what are you willing to do to get, and what's your time frame? Because it has to be a realistic time frame. If you say you want to do that in 3 months, you better be working with me for the next 3 days a week, 4 days a week for the next 6 months. Because if you think it gets that easy, then, and you'll have someone that's got quite a bit of talent, but, you got to put the time in. So
it is very time consuming, but understanding that and understanding like what to even look for, because not everybody's going to be able to commit to come to New Jersey, and I think it's just so helpful to say, here's the real expectations. And if you're with somebody that's not fulfilling these standards, then you might not have found your right coach, And so it's one of those things where it's like, you just want to educate people to what the standards are so they can make a wise decision where they are.
Yeah. And two, they need to have realistic expectations. And most good coaches will say, yeah, we can do that. We can get you there. You need to put some time in. You need I want to see X amount of equipment. You need a good pair of shooting glasses. You need a gun that fits and shoots where you look. And you need the time and effort to put in to move up the ladder at a proper rate of learning curve, so you can absorb the information and execute the information, so you own the information. So a lot of people can do it. A lot of people can't.
I think I'm gonna get back to some foundations. I might pick up my gun and just do some mounting drills today.
So funny you should say that.
Funny, what makes me say that?
Funny you should say that. I said that's some of the first things I do with clients is I give them homework on how to mount the gun and how to do a series of mounts at home. Even and this way they can start to build that relationship with that shotgun. So the next time I see them, I can clearly see that they've been doing their homework. It's very clear as day. Left hand moves first, see them go up, they come in tight in the gun. I do this little routine where I get them in a big room and they go up and they meet the molding and they go across the molding and then they come down, meet back to the molding, go across the molding, come down. So they're hands to the bird, body in reserve, and you will see right away whether someone's got that desire, because the people need to have that desire to meet their goals. Otherwise, they're not realistic goals. They sound good, but they don't have desire. And I will tell you right up front, a lot of people, they want those goals, but they don't want to do the work. You have to put the work in. But once the cool thing is, once you do the work, you own this. It's like teaching you a language. Once you own it, I give you the knowledge. It's yours, and it's like nothing better than that. Nothing better than that.
Nothing better. Nothing better than having a happy dog.
Man. I wouldn't know how to have anything else, man. I'm just thinking about Moses back in the instructor's room, right? He even got a piece of my hamburger at lunchtime. I don't know how he finagled me out of that, but I guess I felt sorry for him. I guess I felt sorry for him. All right, I'll share up. I'll ante up, right? I mean, what else do you do for a 90-pound black Labrador?
It's going to be so funny when I get her up there compared to him because she's literally half his size.
Squirt. He's a big dog.
Yeah.
He's a big dog. I'll tell you what, though.
He doesn't look because he's so proportionate. Like and his conformation is so good. He's got this gorgeous head. Like he doesn't look 90 pounds.
Right. But I'll tell you what. So he's a tough dog to come in and out of the boat, but he pulls them up no problem. But where he really shines, like last year in North Dakota, in the Mott region area, they had a lot of water that year, and the cover was powerful, big cover, and having a big dog like that. It's like sending a book. He just plows through the cover where the smaller, lighter dogs towards, it takes its toll on them. Grass this year was probably the highest I've ever seen it. They just had an exceptional amount of rain, and boy, it grew up, and boy, did we have some good birds from that. But Moses really shined this year because he could power his way through that cover. So that was a home run.
Awesome.
Yep.
Well, this was powerful. There's nothing like moving through all of the beginning like we have. We've hit on gun fit. We've hit on eyesight. We've talked about the fundamentals and mounting drills, just the importance of that at home. If you take a break, no matter how long you've shot, if you take a break for 6 months at a time, like you still come back rusty. You might come back quicker, but it's just so good to get your gun out in the off season.
It is a diminishing skill. It's a slightly diminishing resource, okay? So the better guns, if you and I don't pick up our gun for 2 weeks, it's not going to take me long to get back to where I was 2 weeks ago. But for a new shooter, what we're talking about is we're creating habits. And until you own those habits, you got to work on it. When I first started shooting competitively, I actually set up a mounting gun that, believe it or not, actually started with this big Ithaca Mag 10 gauge, and I weighted it up so it was like 14 pounds. And I would do mounting drills to build shooting muscles because the shooting group, the muscle group for mounting a gun is very different than what most people do. Most people operate in the southern hemisphere, right? You hand someone something and they bring it in here. Well, shooting is the northern hemisphere. It's up and out. So most people, and I always say, I make a joke, I said, if you worked at the supermarket putting those number 10 cans on the upper shelf, you'd have very good upper body strength. And that's what a lot of people don't have because they don't do work over their heads unless they're a mechanic or something. So building that muscle group is very important. And once you own that, you get that nice smooth flow. And like I said, it's something you have to work on. It's a little bit of a diminishing resource, but it doesn't take long for us to get it right back where it needs to be. So, and that's just maybe a couple of hundred rounds, and we're right back to putting the pin right in the hole. So it's not a hard thing to do, but it's all good stuff. Work, work, work. What you put in is what you get out. That's exactly what you get. What you put in is what you get out. You have high expectations, you have to put a lot of work in.
So, what's coming up for the rest of this weekend? Just lessons around there?
So here we have some lessons. We've got a couple of corporates. We're going to get out practice sessions. I have two gentlemen that I'm bringing up the line I'm going to start training them to be lead guys on events. We'll do a bit of that. Kevin will sneak out and maybe shoot a couple of hundred targets somewhere. Look around. Kevin's not around. Where is he? Up on the Fitash course, swinging a Parazzi around. So I might do a little bit of that and get Moses swimming a little bit. And we'll see how this weather goes. Gets a little quiet when it gets this hot up in this part of the woods. Most folks in the east here aren't used to those high temperatures. So, it's kind of like when it rains, people think we don't shoot in the rain. You have to shoot in the rain.
That's where champions are built.
That's right. That's same thing today. I shot 5 stations this morning. You want to compete, you got to be a good sweat shooter. You got to be a good rain shooter. In the winter, you have to be a good cold shooter because the tournament goes on and you can't let that stuff get in your head. It's not an issue. You get the right gear, get after it. Let it be someone else's problem, right?
Sounds good to me.
That's it.
I like it. I like showing up when nobody else will.
Makes you a better shooter. Makes you overall. I mean, I would tell you the only conditions in North Dakota, there's been times where the conditions we really had to play it right. I mean, when Old Man Winter comes in out there and it's 12, 14 degrees with a 20 knot steady wind, and most folks know out there, that wind picks up, it'll blow for 5-6 days straight, not even let down at night. And there are hard conditions to go hunt some roosters in. So we're going into the thermal covers, and you got to protect your dog. You got to have the right gear on. You got to be smart about it because you can get cold and dangerous real quick. So you can't let it get in your head. You got to say, we're going to win this one, boys.
Well, that's not true. That happened to me in Kansas, but I'll never forget my first nationals in UFTA, which would have been right after I started shooting clays. I was more confident shooting than I was running the dogs because I was also running other people's dogs. It was like the first time that I'd started doing that.
Yep.
And we were at Wren Lake in Illinois. And in 1 week, because we were there like from weekend to weekend running throughout the week, we had a tornado where we were having to take our dogs and all like pile up in the basement of the hotel we were in. We had snow. And then I think it snowed first, and then the tornado hit with all the rains, and then everything was flooded, and it was like, oh my God.
Sounds like if you don't like the weather, wait 15 minutes. It'll change. Yeah.
Look, oh my God. Yeah,
look,
it was really brutal.
The gear we have today to work with, I got to tell you, the gears, from what we used 40 years ago, I'm 70, I've been hunting a while. Back then it was wool, rubber boots, just rubber waders, stuff all worked. And the gear we have today is absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely. Different materials and different, it's just, I love it. It makes such a difference. It certainly keeps me in the game, I'm not too bad with getting cold or getting hot. But, you go 2,000 miles on a trip. You want to stay focused on what we're there for and not about, I'm cold, man, this or that. And, I just don't even want to have that come in my head. So, and you pay a little bit, and you get a good piece of equipment. And the key thing is, you buy, cry once, but, if you see me in pictures 10, 12 years ago in North Dakota, I got the same rig. I got the same clothes. I bought 3 of them. This was the perfect shooting rig. I'm a dog handler. I got a strap vest. I got this. The only thing you might see change is a different headgear, a hat. I don't like wearing hoods or anything. And I'll just change the undergarments because that's what works. And it meets the environment needs. So, all good. All good.
There you have it.
Yep, just gets better and better.
It's so good to see you.
Yeah, good stuff.
I'm counting down. The days till I'm back.
Yeah, 2 weeks, right? 2 weeks. Look forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, actually, the key thing is that the fun part will be this time you and I will actually come out with our guns. I'll bring a few of the things that I use. I'll bring my 21 out and we'll go out and we'll shoot a little bit and we'll do some exercise. Maybe we'll get some videos going. And we'll put you on tape and I'll show you some different things that will be kind of fun to look at. So, kind of expand it a little bit on different.
All right, well, if anybody's listening to me and Kevin ramble and y'all want to join us,
That's
you're
it.
welcome.
Yep, come and ramble with
Be a
us.
guest at Griffin and Howe. Yeah. Call Griffin and Howe's office. Let them know that you listen to All American Wing Shooting Podcast with Kevin and Anna, or just message me and we'll get you hooked up with a reservation.
There we go.
I'll see you soon.
You bet. Thanks, hon. Be well. Ugh.
The dawn's finally breaking as I leave this sleepy town. The sun is slowly rising and the fog is on the ground.